Coming up live on YouTube, DPL discusses another win for the New Jersey Devils, but is there a growing concern between the pipes? We dive in on the big plays, the great offensive looks, and whether or not moves may need to get made. All coming up next. Yes, sir. It is DPL, the Devil's Puck Luck podcast, where, of course, we are your host over here, Adam Armbrecht, covering the Brooklyn Nets and the Locked On Nets podcast, covering the top draft pick, New York Football Giants, on the One Giant podcast, joined as always by the pulse of the fan base, the 20-plus year season ticket holder, Danny McDonough, on a live post game on YouTube. How are we, sir? Another win, 5-3 in the bag.
Feeling good, 6-2-1, right? That's what matters, getting the W. Obviously, some good things to focus on, but some negative things too we'll focus on as well. But, overall, going into Minnesota, starting off the road trip with a W, it's a great day.
That's what you want. Obviously, we know the Devils will be back-to-back tomorrow night against the Blues, so we'll look for that and look for Akira Schmid, we assume, to be in net there. We will get to VTech and some struggles. But at a high level, I want to say positive just to start this thing off. Obviously, the Devils get 5 goals. There's a late one there to put it away. But this team, even when about midway through the second period until about midway to the third period, they look like they were playing on their back skate, right? I mean, the Wild did a lot of things. They switched up some of their lines in this game as well. And yet, the Devils grinded their way through this one. I think it's important to see. The surrendered goals make it a little bit harder to stay totally positive on this, but I thought that the team overall, putting the goaltender aside, the team overall stuck to their guns on this and played some gritty hockey when they needed to.
Yeah, Boldy was back for Minnesota, so that they were going to get some offensive power. They switched with Rossi, played a good center ice tonight too for the Wild. So, and listen, their goaltending was great. I know it's 5 goals for the Devils, but it could have been even more. And focusing on the positives. Mikey McLeod had an incredible game tonight.
Yep.
So did Palat. Obviously, Jesper Bratt is still buzzing. Toffoli's buzzing. So, there's a lot of positives to pull away offensively. And defensively, they played really well in the first half of this game. I think it's a tale of two halves. You know what I mean? First half of the game, about the 9-10 minute mark in the second period, Devils were playing good hockey. And then it seemed like we just got a little bit on our heels, like you were saying, and we really had to put our defensive foot forward. I like how the Devils responded with some of the mistakes they made and where their defensive partners were. But not only that is where the offensive, guys were, in our defensive zone to clean up some pucks, which is important. You're going to get some giveaways. It's just going to happen. And seeing Luke Hughes with Marino, in that third period, it was a nice fresh change. I think it's hopefully a sign of things to come because I really like that pairing.
You mentioned in there Mikey McLeod having a good game, just in addition to his overall play inside the faceoff circle, won 10 out of the 12 faceoffs that he had here. Nobody outside of Tierney, who took 7 total faceoffs, took down 3, lost 4. Everybody else 50% or better, including, by the way, one Jack Hughes, 7 wins out of his 11 faceoffs. That's a big step forward for him in a category when we will only have positives to talk about when it comes to Jack Hughes. That's an area that we want to see him improve, and he certainly took that step forward. The big one that I wanted to focus on, actually, as you mentioned, McLeod there, was the goal that he had. Because, and by the way, you want to talk about a dude that just is playing in another gear this season. Jesper Bratt has not had a bad game this season. He always looks electric on the puck. He does a great job gaining the offensive zone, a great job working in tight spaces, seems to have that. We sometimes talk about it, right? A sense of when to hold it up, when to push it forward. When he came up the ice there on the left side, gains the blue, and then just kind of cut in back behind, allowed Mikey McLeod to shift up. I think it's going to be, you'll correct me, who was up front there with them at that point.
A lot, the primary assist.
Yeah. So he's up there, and you end up seeing how, because of the speed of Jesper Bratt, because you gain that blue line, all of a sudden you just make the Wild go, well, hold on a second. Who do I need to be worried about here, including Jesper on the puck? And it really it's a great goal from McLeod, but it was also kind of like, hey, do you know how to push your stick slightly towards the net? You're going to get yourself a goal.
Yeah, we were talking about it. The Devils were a little bit on their heels, a few shifts before that, and they were just kind of dumping the puck through the neutral zone, into the offensive zone, and not really getting the forecheck going. And Jesper Bratt skating literally through the slot right there to get the puck down low to Palat with a great pass to McLeod. So Jesper Bratt, he's a playmaker, man. He's earning that contract. His first year of this extension, and he is earning that contract, and it's a breath of fresh air, man. Because you were wondering what he was going to do coming into the year. If he got the big contract, and maybe there'd be a little bit of lull, but no, man, he stepped right in. Him and Jack Hughes, they're stars, man, superstars on this team.
Yeah, he goes ahead and runs 26 shifts for you tonight, gives you the goal, gives you 3 assists, so you really enjoy that from him, obviously. We'll talk about the power play as well, which continues to be a really strong point for the Devils this season. It matters a lot, and some additional stats. And then, yes, we are going to get to the VTech of it all, to the goaltending of it all, and what we think it's going to mean in the coming weeks. We keep
Yeah.
talking about 15 to 20 games. That's the sample size. As Danny said, when you're still winning games, you can look past some of these things. But from a big picture standpoint, this is a growing concern we have
Yeah.
here.
And before you get to next segment, I know you're going to get to the next segment in just a second, but I love the Holtz Selly too, by the way, Josh. So, but we got to give so much credit to Holtz, man. He's getting limited time, limited minutes, but he's making his minutes count. And hats off to Bastion for really shielding the puck and getting that assist with that great pass behind the net. And man, does Holtz have a shot. When he gets into the slot and open ice, he has a wicked wrist shot. I really want to see him get more ice time. I maybe want to see him, maybe, switch up to a second, on the second line, maybe on the third line to get a little bit more ice time. I think that he has deserved it. He's earned it. I don't see a glaring defect in his defense that he doesn't. It's just strange to me that Ruff kind of limited his time after he scored that goal. He seemed to get less ice time as the game went on. And it's an interesting point, and it's an interesting question because I don't know if you've seen anything defensively, but I thought that he played pretty stout defensively in the neutral zone too. But again, he's an offensive juggernaut. I think when he gets the puck more and when he gets more minutes, I think it's going to pay off for him.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll tell you why it's okay that he's only getting a little over 12 minutes of ice time, as well as dive in deeper on these stats coming up in just 1 second. But before we do, hey, let me tell you about our friends over at DraftKings, because we're past the halfway point of the NFL season and it's going strong. And DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking up new customers with an offer that's even stronger. Bet just $5 on any game this week and score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener every single game day as we start to work our way through November. That's it. Thanksgiving. That's the next holiday up. Halloween is now gone. Get in on the game day greatness. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code
THPN.
New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5 on the NFL. That's promo code
THPN.
Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.100gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hills Casino Resort. Licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. 21 age. Varies by jurisdiction. Void in our friends to the north, Ontario, Canada. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football for terms and eligibility, deposit restrictions, and responsible gambling resources. And so let's round back out here as we also say hey to everybody. You mentioned there, Josh. Also, Ramona coming in there. Kevin, we see you. We see Todd. Thank you for being a part of the lives. We said we want to start doing a few more of these throughout the year and try to announce them a little bit earlier as often as we can so you guys can get in on the conversation. We'll be sure to shout out some of your questions and comments as we move along. On the Alexander Holtz, here's what I'll say. As a guy who was a proponent of him playing potentially even on the second line, like I was fine wherever they wanted to put him. What I will say is it has been so overwhelmingly positive since they've moved him. It was only 12 shifts, a little over 9 minutes of ice time. I actually elevated that. What I'll say is it's been so positive these last few games for him that I'm kind of okay with like having him be young and having Lindy say, good job. You're doing great. Now let's not overexpose you potentially. And by the way, it wouldn't have only been on him because we could say it's about a lot of guys, veterans and otherwise. But you saw as this game was getting a little bit frenetic, even Luke Hughes, I'll call him out right now. He gained the offensive zone. You mentioned he had tired legs at the time, but he went for something that you had pointed out a few games ago. He keeps wanting to go to gaining the zone and doing this blind hook back. Well, in this instance, he tried to blind hook it back and threw it right to a wild. It thankfully ping-ponged back around and it broke down. but those kind of moments, I'm going to assume that they're trying to safeguard against breaking down Holtz a little bit here. But I
Yeah.
agree with you. Give me another 5 games like this, start to working towards the 15 to 20 range, and then we'll start to elevate him up, I think, and get him maybe comfortably on the third line pairing.
Yeah, it's no secret that he needs work on his defensive game. I think he's made strides to
And I
become
think he's been good, though. I think he's been solid defensively. I think he's shown the right awareness, right?
Yeah, he's been a better two-way player 100%. We know that his offensive ability is definitely way better right now than his defensive ability.
Yeah,
And to your point, it's when we're on our heels like that, especially in the third period, you're going to limit his ice time. You know that's going to happen. He might get more time on a power play unit.
sure.
This power play,
I like that.
power play one is just it's so ridiculous how good power play one is. It's unbelievable. This power play, I've been a Devils fan for I can't even remember how long, 30
Over
years.
20 years, we say at the top of the show.
Yeah, yeah, but
It's a part of it.
a lot longer than 20 years, which is crazy. But the
Oops,
thing
you're
is
old.
that I don't think I remember seeing a power play for the New Jersey Devils like this. I don't. I can't recall, a power play unit that is just this dominant. And of course it's going to come down with the percentage of goals, over the season. But what we're seeing right now, not even 10 games into the year, is special. Man,
Mhm.
this power play is absolutely special. And getting back to Holtz, I could see him jumping in on the power play unit too, at some point to get him some more minutes. But I don't have a problem with Lindy, really shutting it down defensively with his very responsible defensive guys in the third period. You saw him getting shifted a lot more. So, I'm happy where he is, Holtz. I do think as the season goes on, he's 3 goals right now. He's going to push more goals in, and he'll slowly get some more ice time coming in.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So it's nothing. It's only positives here right now as far as Holt's performance. Let's take a little step back here and talk about these team stats overall, because I think it starts to illustrate maybe as we think about VTech, we think about these concern areas potentially. You mentioned about the Devils, 38 shots in this game. That really matters. Finally putting the pressure early in the season. We said, hey, pull the trigger more here for a lot of these players. They get out hit 22-10. That's nothing new. They win the faceoff battle 64-36, essentially. And they go to the power play, as you mentioned, 3 out of 5 converting there. That's what you want to see. They didn't take a lot of penalty minutes here, just 4. But here's the part that I think illustrates not the concern, but just where they need to continue to dial things in. They only have 4 takeaways. And this is what I think speaks to that mid-second period to mid-third period. When the Wild wanted to put pressure and gain the zone and have a lot of looks, they were able to, right?
Yeah.
And then it became to the scramble and trying to get it out of your own zone. And then they have their own giveaway concerns, 11 of them, still a little bit careless, especially talking about getting to that neutral zone again.
You got to remember, a lot of teams are going to play very similar against the Devils. They're going to play that 1-3-1 neutral zone trap where they're going to clog up the neutral zone against the Devils and make it very difficult for them to dump the puck in and get the forecheck going. I agree with you. I think that you really need to put a lot more pressure on the Wild in the neutral zone and in the offensive zone for us there. What my biggest concern is being able to have the tape to tape passes consistently throughout the game. It's you see some
Mhm.
blind passes, you see a lot of passes to the center of the ice in our defensive zone, which just cannot happen. A lot of turnovers. Siegenthaler didn't have his best game of the year at all. Dougie Hamilton defensively didn't have his best game. He scored there obviously, but you know, I thought that John Marino had one of his best games of the year. I thought he was
Mm.
absolutely incredible defensively. And Luke Hughes, he made some mistakes, but he was strong defensively tonight. One of his stronger defensive games. So I think you saw him being rewarded and going there with Marino on that pairing. But
Yeah.
I just want to see more puck containment. I want to see more puck possession. I want to see smarter plays throughout the game. 60 minutes. We had it for 30 minutes. We played a great first period, and then some unlucky bounces are going to happen. It's how you recover from them. It's how you recover from them when you're in the third period, when you're kind of chasing the puck a little bit. So there's some things to work on defensively, and I think, and I know you can agree that a lot of it's puck containment and really puck possession.
100%. We want to talk about that aspect of it and get in between the pipes here as well. But you mentioned Luke Hughes again. We haven't seen the same maybe level of explosiveness offensively we anticipated, but I think that his defense has been a real step forward for him coming into this season. Now, again, the sample size was so small at the end of last year, and you brought him in to be explosive and dynamic on the offensive end of the ice. But I think he's shown pretty good responsibility there. He took a couple big hits tonight. Got up from those, and sometimes that's as good a sign as anything that you can absorb those and
Yeah.
still bounce yourself right back up there. And we'll actually talk about Timo Meyer and his little work. Really, I think across the boards
Those
here, he stepped up since being sat down by Lindy Ruff. Let's get into that and also into VTech's performance here in just one moment. But guys, First, we got to tell you about our friends over at Raycon. Why? Because it's never too early to start decorating for the holidays, and it's never too early to start your holiday shopping. I may disagree with the first part of that. I think, we don't need to be talking about putting up Christmas decorations at the beginning of November. Nevertheless, why not take care of all your shopping before the crowds and before that calendar just winds down, you find yourself scrambling? That's because right now, Raycon has a deal that's going to get you saving up to 50% off on an early Black Friday sale going on right now. You've heard me talk about the Raycon products before. We know those earbuds, they have that great in-ear fit. They have that 32-hour battery life, and they're just so comfortable with the quality that you want without having to worry about the high prices. Now, though, Raycon has expanded their entire company into introducing the Home and Raycon PowerTech. The 5-star reviewed Magic 180 cable allows you to charge iOS, micro USB, and Type-C devices 8 times faster with my new nickname for the Devils, 100-watt power delivery.
Yeah.
Their faucet filter also ultra filters water in your tap against chlorine and heavy metals. It's a must-have to ensure that the water that you use to wash your face and brush your teeth is, wouldn't you know it, actually clean. Raycon's known for delivering high-quality products throughout and have the features that also are half the price of other premium tech brands. It's no wonder why products have racked up tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. To get in on the holiday action here and have 20 to 50% off everything on their site, you can go ahead and use that promo code
THPN,
which can be found at buyraycon.com/THPN, and get that 20 to 50% off site wide. That's buyraycon.com/
THPN.
to score up to 50% off on Raycon products by raycon.com/THPN. And what we go to next here is Timo Meyer. We talked about it, saw some players getting into it a couple of times. Jack Hughes at one point, Holtz at one point, and Timo. It wasn't big physical altercations, but every time you saw it, especially I saw late in the latter stages with Jack, Timo went ahead and slid over and said, if you're looking for it, I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's what you want. You're going to see that from Timo. You're going to see it from Palat. You're going to see it from Ball. Those are the guys that got to step up when our superstars, are getting bothered, when we don't want our superstars to get engaged with anyone like that. So, just jumping back to Luke Hughes real quick, I think the opposition has seen that they're going to be physical with him, and they know if they're physical with him, it's going to throw him off his game a little defensively. We saw it a few shifts. I also think that's why Lindy Ruff put him with Marino, because Marino was really stout defensively throughout this whole game. And I think that Luke Hughes, he's got to learn, like, when he takes those big hits, to get right back up and right back into the play. And he started to, toward the end of the game too. So, it's something to look for in the next few games, because I think the opposition is going to do it more often than not.
Yeah, you mentioned that there. There's the one big hit behind the boards, and he did get up quickly. But as you say, that puck cycles back around. The action is still going on there, and you have a responsibility to get out there in front of the net to find your assignment. So good to see him continue to improve in that. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room here. The New Jersey Devils. You and I talked about it. We said we were comfortable with Vitek and with Akira coming into this season, and yet the sample size on Akira is a little bit smaller. He'll play tomorrow night. My biggest concern right now, after what felt like a fairly confident start to the season for Vitek, is, boy, does he just seem to be suffering from not tracking the puck, not covering up the puck, not holding it, not get these long rebounds. I mean, listen, the one that he redirects with his stick through his own 5-hole, I'm going to chalk that up to, like, listen, when it's going bad, right? When the puck luck's running bad for you, it runs bad. But there was 2 goals, including that one in this game, that really should have been saves. It's just inconsistent play when your team needs you to pick them up the most, especially when you get the third goal to be up 3-0. It's shutdown time. When you get it to make it 4-1, it's shutdown time. And yet the door is always slightly ajar for the opposition to get back into games.
Yeah, I want to preface this by saying you and I talked about a 15-20 game mark is where you really kind of see what's going on with the goaltending. For me, it's a dozen to 15. So I say we're going to talk about it more, at that 15 game mark. But it's so frustrating because Vitek was lights out in the first period with some really, really good highlight saves, and we're texting back and forth like, all right, awesome. Damn, Vitek's making these saves. I wasn't expecting him to make these types of saves early in this game, but this is what we needed going into Minnesota. And then you're looking like in the end of the second period and the third period, it's just soft goals. These are goals that he's got to stop. These are saves he has to make. But more so, what makes me nervous is the rebound control. His rebound control was really sloppy towards the end of this game, leaving some really, really juicy rebounds for the Wild. And luckily, we had some good defensive plays, one by Marino right in the blue paint, to save a goal. You saw actually Ball clear out a nice scoring attempt there by the Wild, too. But Yeah, that's my biggest concern. And tomorrow, I'm really hoping that Akira steps it up. He's had even more rest, time to think, time to see, time to work and practice on his game. So I'm really hoping he steps up in a big way tomorrow against the Blues.
Yeah, it's been interesting. VTech 23rd in rebounds per save in the league right now coming into this game. I doubt that they're accounting for that just yet. You mentioned, I mean, listen, it's an 880 save percentage tonight. It was only faced 25 shots.
Yeah.
Like that's a big part of it for me too. Like, at some point, we always talk about, well, this is an offensive driven team and they're going to be pushing the tempo. And sometimes there wasn't there was the one early, there was an odd man rush early, but by and large, these goals were scored on setup plays, on solid defensive positioning, and VTech just getting beat. And that's where I'm more concerned about it, because I feel like we can start to say the defense is finding a bit more of its rhythm and consistency. And now the goaltending is starting to soften a little. 880, man.
Yeah,
880 save
listen,
percentage. That's
I'm
all I got to say, really.
I'm confident to say that if this continues through a third of the season, we're going to trade for a goalie. I'm confident to say that because we have something special with this team when it comes to our offensive ability. This power play unit is absolutely lights out, but you see it. You just see it the way that we roll lines out there. We're going to score a hell of a lot of goals. And if our goaltending is that weak and continues to be that weak, Fitz is going to make a move. Fitz has been making all the right moves, making all the right decisions, in the front office and management office. So I'm confident that if this continues, that you are going to see a trade for a goalie. However, I don't want to be premature, right? It's 9 games.
Yeah.
I want to see Akira get more games under his belt too, because you and I thought that he was going to be battling for that number one, goaltending position.
Yeah.
And he still might, listen, he's only played 2 games, so he still might be. I don't want to panic. I don't want to hit the panic button, but I do think that, if you're looking ahead and you're kind of predicting the future here, defensively, you will make some mistakes, with your pairings, but I think goaltending is the biggest question mark. Let's just relax a little. Let's take a step back and relax a little bit and just hope in the next, half dozen to dozen games that we can right the ship. And like you said, it's the save percentage. That's the biggest thing. If we're giving up 3 goals on 40 shots and they're high quality scoring chances, you tip your cap, to the opposition. But the fact that there's only, mid 20 shots and you're giving up 3 goals, it's not something you want to see.
And I wanted to try to find here. Oh, there it is. VTech. So goals against, again, coming into this game, although it's going to be close to the same. 3.24 coming in expected, 3.12. So he's given up, maybe a little bit more than expected, right? But when you think about goals against better than expected, the problem here is that, like, we talk about some of the best in the game, and he's just not in that category. Like, when we came into this season, the idea was, okay, maybe a little more time for Akira Schmid between the pipes. But we thought, we're talking, you stop me if you disagree. I was thinking, hey, if we have top half goaltending, right, by any combination, then we're going to feel pretty good about it working our way through the season. Right now, we're talking about back end goaltending. And that's why, to your point, 15, 20 games. And then I think we'll start to have that bigger discussion.
You're starting to really look around the league, right? And how other teams are defensively structured and their goaltending is just solid. We can't give up 3 goals, 4 goals every game. We have to win games where we're giving up a 1 goal, 2 goals, and that's it. You look at the Rangers. The Rangers are winning tight games because of their defense and because of their goaltending. They beat Carolina 2-1 tonight. And that is because of their defense. And it's we need to win those types of games because there are going to be games where we're shut down by a very, very strong defensive team, like a Boston Bruins, like a Ranger team that is going to play really well and clog up the neutral zone. Laviolette is doing that. It's the way they're coached now. Their focus is to really play the trap in the neutral zone, which has become something very common for coaches because this is such an offensive league. And that's the best way to stop offensive power. So the Devils got to figure it out in the sense of hit the button.
Oh, in the sense of the button. Oh, baby.
Getting the defense right, which I think they're making strides toward. I think you can agree with that. Yeah. And goaltending right now is not where we want it to be. And it hasn't made any improvements. And that's where, our concern will lie until we get to that 20 game mark where we can say sternly, all right, listen, it's 20 games in, big sample size here. We're still under, the 900 save percentage here. Maybe it's time to think about trading for a goalie. And until then, we just hope, we hope as fans that we right the ship. We always have to just, be optimistic with it because the Devils are going to score goals. And let's hope that Akira has just a lights out game. Wouldn't it be awesome on a back-to-back for Akira to give up like 1 goal and Devils win like 3-4-1? Be
Well,
phenomenal.
I'll tell you right now because Akira, will get into his statistics probably after the post game tomorrow night, and hopefully does have that good performance. But there are a lot of troubling things for a young goaltender that I know. I'll say for me personally, right? I was very bullish about what I think he can do, the
Mhm.
next step that he can take in his game, and so far haven't seen it. But again, early days. So we will go ahead and wrap it here. By the way, we said all these positive things at the front end, so it's just worth reminding the Devils now are 6-2-1. They are sitting there with still a game in hand on the Rangers ahead of them, 13 points, right? 3 points out of the lead of the Metro, narrowly edging out the Islanders and the Canes, both on 12 points. This is right where we thought things would be, right? Ultra competitive early days. And
Yeah.
the most important thing for the Devils was keep getting more wins than not, because that's the crucial part. When these head-to-heads come up, that's when we're going to start to make hay inside of our division and really start to paint a picture about what this season is going to look like. Still so much to do here, but what we will do is stick around for a few minutes, man, and just get into the conversation with everybody over there. Reminder to get us on YouTube, to get us on Twitter, all that good stuff. We'll reiterate at the end. But right now, let's end the official show and stick around for a few minutes with everybody in the comments. All right, we'll spend a few minutes here before we get out the door. It's late. This game started late, Danny. And frankly, I had intermissions being somewhere in the 10 to 12 minute range. It's a full 18 minutes. Come on, what are we doing? It's you have such a quality of product on the ice and you waste all this time in between intermissions.
You can't be tired yet, man. They're playing Colorado at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, so you better be prepared to do your post game around 12:45 of me. Be ready for it.
That
Be
is a problem. No, but by the way, I want to get in the comments here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Danny. Were the Devils not 3 out of 5 converted on their power plays? I saw somebody. I want to make sure I give them credit if they corrected me accurately. Todd said they were 2 for 4, but don't they get that late one
Yeah,
there?
they had the 5-on-3, Todd. So that's probably what you're
Right,
missing there with like 30
right.
seconds left with Dougie Hamilton. But
And the goalie pulled and all the weirdness and everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was, man. The power play is absolutely nuts. It's just nuts. And going back to it, it's pretty crazy to think that Luke Hughes is now on power play 1 and Dougie Hamilton was pulled to the second unit because that's how good Luke Hughes and Jack Hughes, that brother combination, are with the tape to tape passes.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. To watch them work when they get into their power play sets, it's really been fantastic because when they're both controlling the puck well, there's such a fluidity of being able to say, do I want to shift it over to the right side? Do I like it? No. Okay, Luke, when you cycle back to the point, let's go ahead and reset this. Jack, I can drop down to the line there. I can let the puck get onto. Jesper Brack can come in and get it onto his stick. The rotations that they can work, that to me is maybe one of the things where we get to sit here and consistently say, and that's why it's all right sometimes when a goaltender struggles. That's why it's all right sometimes when the defense is a little shaky, because it does not look like this power play unit is going to slow down. Like, this is a problem for every team consistently.
No, I mean we have to remember that it is going to slow down a little bit with percentage.
Nope. Nope.
We're not gonna be
Nope.
50% basically all year.
All right.
And that comes back to, yeah, we're gonna rely on our power play ability to score some goals, but we gotta be even stronger 5-on-5. And we were strong
Yeah.
5-on-5 for the first half of this game,
And
but
then Minnesota won that battle.
yeah,
They
and then
won the
Minnesota
5-on-5.
won the 5-on-5 battle. But we're the type of team, if you make mistakes and you're not disciplined, we're going to capitalize on the power play. And so you're going to see that. I think it's going to be a common theme throughout the year. But you know, realistically, this power play, like I said earlier in the show, is I've never seen anything like it. But I don't want to rely on it. I don't want to rely on it as a Devils fan. You really want to see way more consistency 5-on-5, and you want to see all 4 of those lines rolling.
Yeah, 100%. Todd, no need to apologize. I was trying to make sure I corrected myself in case I was making a mistake. The other one I like too is I appreciate this from Josh. Love Holtz's interview after the first, just seems so likable. Again, for a kid that went through the ringer when it came to how the fan base was talking about, or a segment of the fan base, because that's another thing. Reminder to everybody, it's like you can read the paper, you can watch, X on TV, you can get onto social media, you can get into YouTube.
Yeah.
All these different segments of the fan base, I think, bring different perspectives. And yeah, like this is, for me, I never had, there was a sentiment inside of a certain segment of the fan base that was like, this guy, you got to get rid of him. He's a bum. He's a disaster. And you can attest to it. This off season, I said, why not Alexander Holtz? Like, why can't he have a good year? And sometimes just that good vibe can get a kid on a roll like this.
We talked a lot about the mental factor that went into this season for Holtz.
Yeah.
He knew what happened last year. He was very aware of it, but he's responded well in 9 games. To have 3 goals through 9 games. Listen. I'm going to take that for Holtz. That's good for him. That's great for him. And again, his just composure. And he is very likable. I absolutely agree with that. He is very likable in interviews, and he seems like he is all about this team. He's about the wins. He's about, just being better for himself, making the plays that he needs to make to get more ice time. But he's never going to talk about that. He's going to talk about the team overall. He's going to talk about his line mates. He's going to talk about a great pass, from Bastian, as you heard in the interview, to get him that puck, to get him that opportunity. And that's what you want to see in a teammate. But that's what you want to see in a young kid that you knew was going into this season with that mental anguish and not knowing what his future was going to be with this squad. And you're seeing that he's handling it very well.
You better believe it, man. All right, listen, guys. Absolutely love it. Holtz looks very good. We're getting that from Chris Wilson here, flying around and playing smart hockey. Yeah, he looks very comfortable out there right now, and I think that's the biggest part of it. And yeah, I'll throw in, Todd, you are right. Holtz is going to be great if he stays healthy, and I think Danny's brought this up early in the season. It's something that I have to acknowledge. You see the physical play that gets brought to the Devils' doorstep, and when you think about a Jack Hughes, even a Luke, even a Holtz, like, these guys are going to need to be protected. It hasn't risen to the level yet where I feel like, oh man, we could be risking something here, but we haven't gotten to the contentious matchups yet, really. This game only mid-third period started to have the vibe of the two teams that had just played each other the last time that they were on the ice. So there was a little bit of energy, but didn't come out nearly as much. Let's talk about rivalry matchups. Let's talk about getting against the Rangers and the Canes, right? Let's get inside the Metro. And then we're going to see where some of this physical play at times is going to need to be responded to.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Devils, we have to remember, are not going to be the big hitters. We're usually going to get out hit in games. Yeah. It's knowing when to be physical and knowing when to play our game. Do I want to see more physicality a lot of times? Yeah, and I think that comes down to when we look sluggish 5-on-5, is I don't think that we're using our body. We're a little timid and we're worried about the passing. When it comes down to just simplifying your game, and that's going to be with that physicality. But like Adam always says, you always say it, Adam, so a lot of props to you, is we can't lose sight of our game. We can't play differently just to be physical. And I think that's the fine line there that we have to keep. I see a lot of people talking about just getting an absolute bruiser, a fourth liner that's just going to go out there and fight everybody. We don't need that. We need someone who is going to protect players, which I think we have. It's just a matter of doing it. And that are going to be physical and forecheck. And Bastian has done that. Lazar has done that. Chris, you actually made the comment too there. I see the bottom six have played absolutely incredible. And we're getting what we need from the bottom six. The bottom six being Lazar, being Halla. McLeod is now a line 2 center while Heischer's out. But, his consistency on the fourth line and jumping into that second line center when he needs to. It's really important for this team. And those complementary pieces are really is what's going to push them ahead to be an elite team. So, if we have all four lines rolling, which I think we're going to, we're dangerous, man. Even with the defensive woes and some of the goaltending woes right now, we're going to be dangerous.
And don't forget too, you can look at it right inside this game. Just 4 penalty minutes taken by the Devils, right? 4 to 10. That's how you create the differences. It's how you create those opportunities for our power play, and that's how you punish the other team on the scoreboard. That's always going to be what I come back to. All right. Until next time, guys. Which will Danny, are you going to be post game tomorrow night? We locking you in?
It's all you, buddy. You're going to handle that because I'm going to be streaming the game while working, unfortunately.
Oh, sure. One eye on something that needs to be taken care of, but most attention being paid to the New Jersey Devils. Here's what you do, guys. As I mentioned before, you get over to Twitter, you follow at Danny the Face, at Adam Armbrecht, and at NJ Devils PL. You come over right here to YouTube, turn on your alerts so you know when we're going live with our post games. That's Devils Puck Luck. Also on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Instagram, on Facebook at
Devils Puck Luck.
Yeah, you got there. No, it's fine. Not the best co-host in the world. And before we get out the door, you better believe it, buddy. Great points by me. I knew it all along. Smart hockey wins. Guys, Danny's going to get us out the door right at the top of his head. What do we say, Dan?
Mercy for Mercer. He played well, even though he had no points.
There we go, buddy. Catch you next time. DPL.